Wonderful. Hello, everyone. It is Thursday, May 30th, 2024. Welcome to the May Edgewalkers International Cafe. It's great to see you all. I am tuning in from the Catskill Mountains in New York State. And I am thrilled beyond thrilled to introduce my friend, Irina Soriano, for her wonderful presentation today. Mindshit to Mindshift. Hello, Irina Soriano. Welcome to the edge of, the edge of every day. It's so in my body. Isn't that great? To the Edgewalkers Cafe.
Thank you for having me. The good little group here. It's nice to meet you all. I just looked at where you're all from all over the place. Lovely. I'm based in New York myself, so around the corner from Sandra.
Oh, yes. It's wonderful. So I want to always let people know how I know the guests that I choose. And the story of how I know Irina in particular is glorious. I met Irina because I was the wedding officiant, the minister who created the wedding ceremony that married she to her glorious husband, Chris. Yes, isn't that glorious? 8 years ago, coming up on 8 years, and we, of course, fell in with each other and became fast and furious friends. And here we are. Yes, and Irina has been a wonderful guest on the Edge of Every Day. And in fact, we just recorded our next one last night. That's dropping on June 1st. So before we dive into the presentation, I would love for all of us to take a nice moment together and to get settled in as we've all signed in and written in our chat room and come together and to take a lovely 3 deep breaths together and really listen to the sounds around us. I hear birds. Coming together, feeling our breath together and forming our intention to come together in community. And open your eyes as you feel ready. Yes, honoring the power of community. That will be one of the wonderful things that we talk about with Irina today. So the flow of this is Irina's going to talk about her wonderful TEDx talk and give us the major points of it. We're going to hear about the wonderful journal that she has created to go along with this program and TED Talk and the community that she has created, Sisterly. And then we're going to hear about one of her books that she has authored. Oh, wait, I got to read her fantastic. I'm out of order from the edge of every day, so I'm breezing ahead. I have to read her fantastic CV before we dive into all of that. So here goes. In the spring of 2018, Irina Soriano embarked on a transformative journey of self-discovery and empowerment, transitioning from a decade-long tenure at the same company that spanned 3 continents. This significant shift marked a new chapter without the familiar daily job routine, sparking a profound awakening within her, which highlighted the importance of self-belief and the power of leading by example to drive meaningful change. She is the author of Tomorrow's Enablement for Today's Leaders and Generation Brand, which we will be speaking about, as well as a TEDx and keynote speaker, deeply passionate about empowering professionals globally in the corporate world and beyond. Irina co-founded Sisterly, Mindshit to Mindshift, with her sister Jo. The mission at Sisterly is to create a space for like-minded women to grow together into their full potential by collectively addressing our mind shit, mental clutter, through targeted strategies, boosting mental wellness, and achieving mind shifts together. In the Sisterly community, women can find support, empowerment, and inspiration. Her journey is a testament to the transformative impact of self-belief, offering a blueprint for realizing one's full potential and making significant contributions to professional and personal development. Beautiful. So again, welcome, Irina Soriano.
Thank you so much. That bio is a mouthful, by the way. So,
it is, and I've cut it down. It goes.
yeah.
I believe it. Well, your accomplishments speak volumes. Okay, so let's dive into it. And I love this. And I was present in the audience for Irina's most recent TEDx talk, which is the reason I invited her on here. That just in part of the cheering audience. It's called "Why Women Don't Shit at Work." Now, Irina has some great news about this, which is why she can't give fully the TED Talk. So what is that great news? Why can't you do that?
Yeah, and Konstantin, I'm just checking your daughter might not be around anymore, because if we say the word shit 50 times in the next hour, okay, good. I saw her popping in there, so I'm just aware of any children potentially being around.
Yes.
That was our original plan, that I would actually give you kind of the heads up on the TEDx talk here today, but TEDx has decided to feature the talk in their annual editors pick. Which means it's going to take a little while until it's going to come out. So we will speak about it today, but I can't
give the flow.
The actual talk, but it'll hopefully soon be available on the TED platform.
Excellent. Well, and you'll give all of the points, which will be wonderful.
Absolutely.
So let's dive in. What was the spark? What was the original idea as to why you came up with this particular topic for a TEDx?
Yes. So as Sandra said, this is my second talk. My first talk was also related to a topic for women specifically. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later. So when I knew I wanted to do my second talk, coming up with the idea, and I don't know if anybody is familiar with the whole TEDx realm on this call, really the ideation is the critical part, like finding something that is meaningful to people, that brings people together, that's educational, like that's really the whole process behind it. And I was looking for something that's pushing some buttons potentially, that's a little bit lighter, a little bit more funny. My first talk was pretty serious as well. And the one thing that has been a mystery my entire life is women's bathroom behavior in the workplace. And that was really how the talk originated. And I give you a little bit more background here. In my 15 years of my corporate life, I have never heard a woman use the bathroom, like go number 2 at work, never in 15 years. And I've worked and lived all around the world, and it's been something that has puzzled me my entire life. And I am also can for sure say that no one ever heard me go at work, thanks to the many various strategies that I have implemented throughout the years. And so the idea was, hey, I'm going to structure the talk around this topic in general. I did a bunch of research, which was very welcome by many, many women that have answered my surveys and that I have interviewed. And they, as I was going through it, I was laughing a lot, but I was also thinking, what are we doing to each other in a way? Like, why is this happening? Like, it just turned out to be this whole phenomenon. And the talk itself then morphed as I was going through this process. As I was saying, you know what, that there is a little bit more there than, women holding on to their shit when they go to work. We're also holding on to our mental shit as well, right? Mm-hmm. And that's how the idea came together to say, hey, what if we were to stop holding on to all of our shit physically and otherwise for a more happy and healthy and sustainable life, and really freeing ourselves from all the boundaries that we carry around. So that's the base idea of the talk, and that's really where it originated from. And ultimately, I wanted to keep the humorous factor around it. Hence,
It's
the
fantastic.
topic that I have chosen.
Well,
Yeah.
and that is the tenant, a quality of Edgewalkers is playfulness and humor. So this crowd is completely in tune with pushing boundaries, getting edgy, and having some fun and some playfulness in our learning process and in our wisdom. So lay out the talk. First of all, I want to know how many times you say shit in it. No, just kidding. Lay out the talk. What are the points that what did you discover that was really standing in the way of what women were facing with their mind shit? And as you know, of course, how it relates to bathroom behavior, but overall in the corporate world. And what were you, how do you lay out how they were dealing with that?
Yeah, no problem. By the way, I did say 74 times the word in a 15-minute talk. So
Yes. And I heard
I
everyone.
did count it, and I gave people a warning before I started my talk, just so that they knew what was coming at them in that short time frame. So really starting with, coming back to general bathroom behavior, right? Which then leads me to the other topic of holding on to just our mental clutter as well. So through all the research that I've gone through, number one, I wanted to find out what is the reason. Why are we showing this behavior, especially at work, or potentially in other public restrooms as well. As I also interviewed men in the process who told me the complete opposite of how they are behaving at work, which I found very interesting, and that made me believe, or put an assumption out, that there has to be something there how women feel about each other, that we're hiding something as natural as going to the bathroom. There's just something there, while men just operated a little bit differently, especially in the setting at work. And as I went out and I put surveys out and I said, hey, talk to me. Like, are you going at work? Are you not? If you are, what are you doing? And out came all of the strategies, as in, oh no, I hold it in all day. Like, I operate for 12 hours sitting in meetings, not going to the bathroom.
Mind blowing.
Which I've done many times myself, so I can very much emphasize when I read that, all the way to strategies used in the bathroom and in the stall to make noise, or going completely off the premises and using gyms and cafes like near the office, scheduling lunches away from the office so they, women can go to the bathroom. And as I was going through this process, like I said, I'm like, this is crazy what we're doing. Yet I was part of that same machinery for many, many years, because I've done all those things myself. And as I asked more questions, and also in the survey, I said, hey, talk to me a little bit about the fear of judgment from other women, because that was my ultimate assumption. Like, I'm not doing it because I don't want to be judged. Like, tell me a little bit about it. And that was a theme that was very quickly coming through, that women said, yeah, like, I don't want to be judged. I don't know what people are going to think about me. People talk about me at the office. And I also ask questions around, what are you afraid of being judged? And the themes that kept coming up is my appearance, what I look like, the things I do at work. And in that same vein, I purposely left a lot of, wanted a lot of comments from people and asked for that, just to hear their stories. A lot that came through was the whole, that there's just a level of competition amongst women. I notice it especially in the workplace. And I think that's, for me, that was really the key topic to get to, right? Why are we behaving this way? What is happening? What is happening between women? And why do a lot of women feel like that about each other? And that's really where the connection kind of happened to, hey, what we're doing in the bathroom, are we also doing that in the boardroom? And that for me is the interesting piece. Like, we're doing it there, but we're also hiding and holding back when we're then in our, work or corporate settings, Does this have to do also with the fear of being judged? And it clearly was. I mean, those were a lot of the answers that I've gotten, which I thought was really interesting. Competition, right? And I'm not saying,
Perfectionism.
yeah, totally. And if we really get into why are we doing this, right? And many of you might agree with me when I say this now. For us, there's just different societal expectations. Like we have to look a
That's the
certain
crux.
way,
That's the
behave a
crux.
certain way. Like, if I were to go out or go to a business meeting without any makeup on, I'm sure there's going to be people in the room that go, well, what's she looking like today here? What's going on? There is just something there. We have to be put together. We have to smell good. We have to be pretty. Many women mention this as well when they knew in relationships, they behave that same way, right? You're not supposed to be human. You're supposed to be perfect and look good and, be put together. And I think this is something that we carry around, right? And that
Absolutely.
our entire life, really, to
It's
this
socialized.
degree is,
It's
socialized.
culturized. It's in our DNA as women. It's a patriarchal society, and it really shows up in corporate world.
Yeah.
And I love how it's using this symbolism of bathroom behavior to highlight it and begin to break it down, to flush it down the toilet, if
Flash
you
it.
will.
That's right.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and how are you doing that? How are you helping women to have both in community and individually to move through the analysis of all of this mind shit into mind shifts?
Yeah, good question. So I think it's important to kind of understand the connection between what we're doing in the bathroom and the mind shit as well, right? So maybe I give a quick definition. So what I call mind shit is really the mental clutter that we carry around, like that little voice in the back of your head that occasionally comes out and says all this nasty stuff to you, right? And this is applicable for men and women, right? That's good. Men have as much mind shit as women. They just deal with it a little bit differently. So I think for us, it's it can become a little bit bigger and more overwhelming and more consuming in our life as well. So it's really that little voice that goes, you're stupid, or you can't do this, and you suck, and you're not good enough. Like the one that's always constantly living there. And as long as that is there, that fear of judgment also feeds into this. If we're not doing anything about that, we will also never go to the bathroom peacefully. And I know this for myself, which, I have liberated myself from this problem in the last few years.
Congratulations.
Thankfully. Thank you. I know it's a major accomplishment in my life.
She's walking her talk.
I'm a how my husband would say, a proud corporate shitter. That's what he would call me. I have no problem anymore using the bathroom, which is great. And but the mind shit component and this thinking that's really what we need to liberate ourselves from. And the mind shit is never going to go away, right? It lives within us. It's there. But the thing is, it comes out, and I see this for myself and many women that my sister Jo and I work with in the sisterly community as well. The mind shit gets triggered, and it gets triggered by certain things, which is usually it's people or that we have in our life. So it could be a friend that you have, or it could be your spouse, or it could be your boss or a colleague, or whoever is around you that triggers the mind shit to go wild. Or it could be situations. Maybe you're in a health crisis, right? Where I've been myself there before. Or you in a financial crisis, or maybe you are in a you're not happy in your marriage, or you are stuck in your career, right? It could be many different situations we could find ourselves in that then triggers this mind shit. Or it could be objects, right? It's the Peloton that you've gotten for Christmas that you haven't used, and now we're in May, almost June, and every time you look at this thing, you go, oh my God, I look terrible, I feel horrible, like I should be working out, and it's just triggering these kind of thoughts. And the work that we do at Sisterly is geared towards that, like bringing a community of women together so we can tackle the mind shit and deal with the triggers, so that women have an opportunity to come to peace with their mind shit. And the key there is that we're doing this collectively, like we're doing it together, because dealing with mind shit, that's a big thing. Like that's lonely work right there, you know, and it
Absolutely.
can be depressing too. So
Well,
doing it in
shadow
a
work.
community is different. That's right.
Absolutely. The shadow work, there's lots of ways of coming at these triggers and such. And I love the use of the phrase mind shit to think about them, this kind of shadow work. So you have created I asked about mind shifts moving into sisterly, but you've also to go along with the internal work you've created to deal with the shadow work, deal with these triggers, a wonderful journal. It's gorgeous. I hope you have a copy right next to you. The Shit Journal.
Oh,
Oh
gotta
wait,
see
no.
the
Oh
name.
well, that's okay.
I can show her real quick. That is
Yes, the
selfish.
Shit Journal. And and this is a community that understands the power of journaling, and that many people are coming to realize the data is coming out about the power of journaling. You've created this. Tell us more about the Shit Journal, how it deals, how you break this down quickly, your method, and how it helps with the mind shifts and how that's working collectively. Tell us about Sisterly.
Yeah. So let me start with Sicily, maybe.
Mm.
So we started a community. You know, we're a few months in, so we get a couple of hundred women in the community so far. And like I said, the purpose for us is to do this work together, right? And where this all originated from is, so I started Sicily with my sister Jo, who's she's 6 years older than me. She lives in Hamburg, so I'm originally from Germany. So she's still over there. I'm in New York, and there's obviously an ocean in between us, but we have a really strong sisterly bond. And the reason why we have that is that we have over the years always worked on our shit together. We eventually coined that Mindshit just between us originally. And, we're both certified coaches. We've used coaching much in our careers, over the last, for me, 15 years, for her, 20 years. And we started to coach each other through our mind shit, right? And at one point we were like, you know what, this is so much easier when we're doing this together, because we both had a couple of crises that we were in, and I'm like, I'm drowning here. Like, I don't know if I can make this through this. Like, this is really hard. And it's tough also to talk with people sometimes that they might not understand because they haven't been in a similar situation, right? Like if you're dealing with a health issue and somebody has always been healthy their whole life, they're not going to get it, right? They're not going to understand. So that's why we said, hey, if there's a community with women where we have hundreds or thousands of women in there, you're going to have people that understand what you are going through. Like, think about the power of the collective mind when we all come together and we then help ourselves to work through that mind shit. There's something really powerful behind that, right? And it's also the uplifting and the support and the vulnerability, and like going away from the, oh, I have to hide and look perfect, amongst all other women. That's not really our jam. Like we kind of stepped over that and into an area where not being perfect and dealing with shit is okay, because we're all doing it. Like there's no more hiding. So that's how the whole journal came together, because we said, hey, we need to give people like a vehicle to do this work. Like you can't just sit down and on empty pages and just write everything down. Like there has to be just a little bit of guidance there that we're bringing people through. And that was the whole purpose, that we said, hey, let's build a guided journal with activities and exercises so folks really understand what is Mindshit and how do I use it, like, and how do I really learn the right steps, and a method that we have developed that worked for us and for many other people that we've shared it with, to just give people the tools. That was the whole reason behind that. And yeah, my sister is she runs a design agency, so we've done all the work ourselves. So we've laid it out and designed it and
It's
put it
beautiful.
together. And yeah, it's really a passion project for us. Like, and it has brought us even closer, just being able to serve in a way like that.
Well,
So
and it goes, you've laid it out so elegantly, but it of course goes with the humor of this mind shit and
absolutely.
bathroom behavior, and really just, but also opens it up to a depth-filled conversation, which is so fantastic. Well, you have touched on Sisterly, and and your journal. Let's now go on to, I did want to touch upon, actually, before we go on to, I want to talk about Generation Brand. Does anyone have a question for Irina at this point? Looking in the chat. Does anyone have a question? If you want to raise your hand or just dive in, just jump in.
This is Judy, and I'm just wondering if there are any men in Sisterly.
That's a good question, Judy.
Ooh.
So,
That's what I was going to ask.
All right.
I was
Dave.
thinking about you, Dave, because you are such a beautiful integration of feminine and masculine and beyond feminine and masculine. And I was just kind of sensing, Dave, that you were going, I'd like to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Marvelous.
My only hang up was the sister part, but then I thought that's a hang up, it's sort of like, don't want anyone to hear me say that I have a real comfort with the feminine aspect of my life. That's how men, we may sit in open toilet rooms and not be shy.
Yeah.
But mention anything with the guys that you have strong feelings, emotions that make you sad. Yeah, that's showing too much. So yeah, I'm in.
That's
Wow.
so that's wonderful, Dave. You're not the
Oh.
first man who said that, by the way. And I will tell you that my husband Chris, he's all about when can I come into the community.
Yeah.
So let me put it this way, like, and we were debating this back and forth, right? So we created the community for women only, right? So no bad news there, but hear me out for a second. And the reason why we did that is that with everything that we do, we always go out into our network and we ask the women, like, is this good? Is this bad? Give us feedback. Here's what we're thinking. And we've even done this with the journal. We had like 30 women that were going through the pilot with the journal, give us feedback. And then we made all the changes after that. And we did the same with the community. And we said, how do you feel if we let everybody in? Because like I said, men have as much mind shit as women, right? This is not a us only thing. And the consensus from the women we asked was we would be comfortable if it was just women. And that's why we made that decision. Though that being said, we already talked about, hey, as we, move through this whole process and we really get into it, to potentially do something for men there as well. Because I think, like I said, it's as applicable. Like if you pick up the journal, we designed it for women. That's why the graphics are all women on the inside, but the content in there is as applicable to you as is to any woman out there who would pick it up. 100%.
I think though that we men want you to have as much freedom to develop a self-awareness and awareness with the others. Why? Because there's information that you have as women that we don't have access to. And even if I'm a social scientist and you put all the labels on, I'm deeply curious about the women's experience. Even my wife and daughter can be my laboratory, but still, there's a lot of things that you've experienced in society that define particularly your limits in corporate life. And it's time to remove those limits. And this is one way to it. So if we men want to throw our big noisy voices into the mix, I think we might still some voices that really need to be heard. So I'll just be a very appreciative bystander.
Yeah, I love everything you say, Dave. And folks often ask me, oh, so everything you do is only with women, because I go out and do keynotes and workshops and stuff as well, next to my corporate job. And that there's always half of the audience are always male, right? And I think when and you just said it, when these conversations are happening, and also removing the glass ceiling for women in the corporate world, like we can't sit just by ourselves in a room and try to figure this out. Like we obviously need the men on the table and also, like you said, for you to hear the other side. Like, what are we going through? What are we experiencing, right? Because it's my husband has been in finance for 35 years, right? And he's like, the stuff you telling me is like, I have not seen this. He's like, because I have always pushed women, and I've worked with men that supported women and mentored and helped them move up the corporate ladder. And he's like, some of the things you telling me, and by the way, I've also been in the same setting. I've always worked with men that have been extremely supportive, and I was very lucky in the organizations I was in. But many other women have different experiences, many, 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 many. And I'm sure some folks on the call here, would say that too. So I'm 100% in agreement that, you need both of the voices in order to fix the problem. Yes. 100% there. 100%.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dave. That was fantastic. Anyone else, or shall we just quickly move on to Generation Brand? There's going to be more time for some questions again. But I wanted Irina to talk about her book, Generation Brand, because I think it is such a powerful resource, not only for young women, but for everyone. I spoke with Irina about Generation Brand on the Edge of Every Day a couple of years ago. It had recently come out at that time. And so, there's a lot of information out there. You can go and access that particular episode on the Edge of Every Day. But if you want a fuller discussion about it, but I want Irina to touch on Generation Brand. What is Generation Brand? And then what is Life Brand? And why is this a great resource?
Yeah, let me maybe start with the Life Brand topic first, right? And how this whole thing really came together. So throughout my corporate life, I've mentored many young men and women, and one of the big topics that would always come up is how am I confident in my career? Like, I'm lacking a lot of confidence, and really understanding the root causes where that comes from as well. And it often got pushed in a direction on, I spend time on social media and I'm on the internet and I'm taking all these things in, and I'm not good enough and everybody is better than me. So here we're back in the Mindshit topic as well, right? It's the comparison to others, and now we have access to so much out there just with Instagram and Facebook and all the places where we can go to really compare ourselves. And I started to coach around what I call Life Brand, which is our digital fingerprint. So imagine it as every single little thing that you've ever done on the internet. That's from your Amazon review to that photo you posted on your Facebook or your Instagram that you think is private, right? And obviously for the younger generations, this is much more of a topic because they just put a lot more out there from a very young age. And Generation Brand is really, that is the next generation that has grown up with social media and internet access from day one, right? Where I'm born, here goes the picture onto Instagram, like the day I saw the light of this world. And they have ever since been exposed to it. And, I did a lot of research around what does this do, especially to the next generation's confidence. If we look at depression rates amongst teenagers, getting driver's license has significantly declined. Younger folks less leaving the house, dealing with mental health issues. There's a whole generation there that has been exposed to social media, and that for me, that really raised the question, if me, who has not grown up with it, right? I got into, my first Facebook account at 23. I was kind of already through the hard times by the time I got in there, and I knew a bit what I was doing. I'm a almost 40-year-old woman with imposter syndrome and also lack of confidence, and I suffer from all of these things as much as many other women do. But how is this impacting the next generation that is growing up in a social media landscape that's so overtaking and overwhelming? Where are they going to be when they get to my age or further? And again, especially for women, I think this is even a bigger topic, because we know there's a confidence gap between men and women in general, right? There's a lot of research that has been done on that. So So that's a theme in itself. And the life branding, I really give an understanding of what should this look like? How do you build it for yourself in the right way? So it's not, hey, I have to go out and do personal branding and push myself in the foreground, but I'm really giving back to my community. Like I'm sharing things that help people, become better at what they do or serve a purpose, and really sharing my expertise or my interest, or whatever it is that you're centering your life brand around. So, and this can be absolutely adopted and used by the next generation and teenagers as well. It's kind of the social media seatbelt when you go on that highway.
That's fantastic. It's such it's every young woman, every young person, period, but certainly young women should have this book. But it's filled with nuggets around people who don't use social media wisely, and don't really understand how something as enormous and as simple as a life brand can be. It's all reactive rather than, as you put, combined with a life purpose, and moving things forward in a positive way, contributing to community. So again, it's Generation Brand. Fantastic book. Okay, I'm going to open it up. The reason we're moving somewhat quickly is because Irina has a very hard stop at 12 noon. So we wanted to keep things moving. I'm going to open it up to questions again. Does anyone have any questions? Anything that, or not even a question, a comment, something to contribute to the conversation? It'd be lovely to hear from you. Dive right in, or put it in the chat, or
I did put it in the chat, but I really
sorry, I didn't.
No. But I really appreciate you speaking to, really for all of us, to when we post on social media, to think about posting in a way that it might serve somebody, or that we're speaking to a community, instead of just I do that a lot because of what I post, but not quite that way. It's not quite focused on, oh, how can I make the world a better place in this post? I mean, it's mixed because I do post a lot of that, but somehow that just that slight hair splitting aspect that you mentioned just really opened up a new possibility for me. So and some people I'm working with to ask them to post more to help guide their posting as well. So thanks.
That's awesome, Peggy. And I think what I hear a lot from folks that don't post at all, right? That go, I go on social media, I want nothing to do with this. Or some folks that go, I feels like brown nosing, and I don't want to celebrate my accomplishments. And again, there's this fear of judgment right there, right? That's coming through. And I think if you flip that thinking, oh, I'm posting for me, like to build my brand and my visibility, but you flip it to, like, I'm posting for the people that are reading this. Like, I want, if just one person reads this and goes, this was a great tip, I'm going to do this today. Or, this was insightful for me, I'm going to use this resource to, read it and educate myself. That's a completely different way when you flip the whole purpose of why you are actually building your life brand. And I think the other thing that I often hear is like, I don't know what people are going to say, like, and they're going to judge me. Like, there's an element there too. And I think the way it's structured, and I have a whole guide, like in the book, how you can actually really put together your life brand and understanding what's my identity, like what do I stand for, and that should shine through in every single time when you go out there and do anything on the internet. Really, like, is this representative of you? But then also, what's your purpose, right? And the purpose could be that you say that's centered around my expertise or my interest or a specific skill that you have or a hobby, right? So if I'm 16 years old and I'm into makeup, then that might be the purpose at that point in time of your life brand. If you are, a healer, then your purpose might different, right? For me, it's the making a long-lasting contribution to driving gender equality and equity in business and beyond, right? That's my personal purpose. but I also have a professional purpose, which is enablement, which is what I've been doing for 15 years in the corporate world. So I think once people understand that and really align to that, like that's when the mindset starts to change. And you know, and we just do this with a much different purpose. So I love that you said that, and also that you're so active in sharing with your community. That's great to hear.
She is indeed. It's a wonderful community.
That's
So yeah, she
wonderful.
has a launch
Follow
in
you, Peggy.
the third. Yeah. And what is it, Peggy? You're also Unite for Democracy.
Unite for
Got a
Democracy,
great,
as
yeah.
well as my
Your
work, my life work.
Yeah. But this is the launch kit in the back that Irina was just alluding to, that can help walk people through getting that clarity around what it is that they want to do, and how they want their life brand to be grown, changed, and expanded. So does anyone else have a question or a comment or a celebration? Going into, and dive right in. Okay.
Yeah, I would like to ask, I'm still kind of stunned at this bathroom metaphor, and you know, really looking at the way we hide natural things and the essence of who we are as human beings. And it's such a wonderful metaphor. And I'm thinking of like holographic theory that says if we do something in part, we're doing it in whole. That this, and I think this is all you're saying about Mindshit, as we hold back this one little thing that's natural, we're holding back so much more. And I'm wondering, you know, it's just personally, I'm thinking, where else do I hold back? Where else that I was never aware of? I mean, this was a totally unconscious behavior on my part. And it's like, where else am I holding back? And so I'm wondering, what other areas have you found that women or women and men really hold back something about their nature, their essence? Actually, and I'm thinking in Edgewalkers, one of the things that we're trying to overcome is people hold back their spirituality.
Oh yeah.
They don't talk about their spirituality or their the gifts that come from their practices, the other ways of knowing, the profound energy work. We hold that back. We don't talk about it. We don't share it because people will think we're woo-woo or crazy, but it's real. And if more people knew about it. So that's what you're evoking in me. And I'd love to hear your comments.
This is a great comment, and I fully agree with that, and really with everything that you said. Like, I think there's some natural things that everybody does, right? And the bathroom fits right in there, that we're just generally embarrassed about as humans, you know, and maybe a little bit more as women, but it's definitely applicable to some men as well that I had in my interviews along the way. I definitely agree on the holding back it's really holding back the Mindshit and being open about it. I said this to Sandra yesterday as I was going through this journey. Like, I always considered myself to be a vulnerable leader. You know, I have a lot of things happening in my life. I speak to this about people. Like, I let them know how I tick and what my hot buttons are so that they know how to work with me well. And I always thought I'm really vulnerable. And as I got into, we set up this community and all the women were coming in, I was like, you know, I'm actually not that vulnerable. Like, I have never said to folks that, you know, I'm a total perfectionist and here's how this comes out when I'm doing this, or, you know, I have a need for harmony. And when I sense that people in my life are, you know, they're unhappy or something isn't going right, I have like an innate desire to fix it, right? Which is not my job, but it's otherwise it's you know, putting me in a weird spot, right? And there's a handful of other things. And those were things I would have not talked about, because I'm like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't say this out loud. Like, oh, how is this going to be received? And in the community, we do that. And, you know, when I stepped out and I said, here's all my mind shit, there were like 10 women that said, oh my God, I could have written this, what you just put there. And I'm like, okay, now I feel better. Clearly, I'm not alone. So I think that's definitely something that people holding back. And I've just yesterday talked to a friend, and she told me a ton of her things, and she's like, I can't say this out loud, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm like, that, you know, I get it, but it's also ultimately makes me feel sad that this is something we have to hold in. And I agree on the spirituality as well. You know, I'm on my own path. I'm surely not as advanced as all of you. I embarked that path just a few years ago. It's been a beautiful journey so far. But I do agree that folks usually also don't really speak about it. Like, I have to go in the circles to surround myself with people in those communities that do. But otherwise you wouldn't really hear much about it. This, for me personally, this is one thing I actually do openly speak about it, which usually people go, were you talking mystical experience? Like, what are you doing in those meditations? I'm like, well, come back, I show you, like, if you want to know what I'm doing. So I think you could kind of really hit on those main areas, like where we're hiding. I'm sure there's tons more, like, even, you know, if I was to sit back and think about this a little bit more. But the one thing I will always say is, you might think you're vulnerable, but you're probably not. That's really it. You know.
Absolutely. That's fantastic and so true, and so true about spirituality in the workplace. I think spirituality in general. I think a lot of people who consider themselves part of a professional world that isn't overtly spiritual can feel somewhat holding back with it, which is unfortunate. But we Edgewalkers are forging ahead and pushing that boundary, right, Judy Neal? Patricia has put, how people do anything, quote, how people do anything is how they do anything. So
It's hard
true.
out
Where,
there. Yeah, it's just been interesting. I keep thinking about that. If I'm hiding in the bathroom, am I hiding elsewhere? You know, because there's something that's translating. It's very thought-provoking. Thank you for
so true.
Yeah.
So true.
Very interesting. And I have to go, unfortunately, but I said I have to go to the bathroom before I get my call.
That's good.
I've got to go flush my life. It's great to see you, Patricia.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. See you next time. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thank you, Great Cafe. Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Bye.
So does anyone else have a question, a comment, a musing?
I have a question.
Go for it.
Hi, Radmila.
Radmila, yes. Good evening from The Hague in the Netherlands. I'll briefly introduce myself first.
Oh, nice.
I had a wonderful pleasure and honor meeting Judy in one of the Intellectual Shamans webinars led by Professor Sandra Weddock. And that's part of the so-called International Humanistic Management Association program. So it was a wonderful connection. Hello, Judy. It's wonderful to see you again. And I, in my sphere of influence, work on empowering my community to use the tools in order to have a greater sense of agency. My tools come from the power of liberal arts education. I studied English literature, and I was wondering whether you have certain tools that you have either used or you are promoting in order to propagate for what you believe in within your community.
Yeah, that's a great question. So do you mean like, let me just kind of refine this a bit, like techniques or methods, or you know, we talked about the journal. Is that what you were asking about?
I'll give you an example.
That'd be great.
So yes, please. what's happening in the world is quite troubling, right? So I have already started promoting a so-called lost generation. It's the generation of writers such as Ernest Hemingway, Scott Fitzgerald, Ezra Pound. We're talking about what wars do to people. And sadly, what we have learned from the history is that we never learn. But that aspect of how the generations of people who come from the war periods of our existence as a human nation has really deep consequences in how one nation will develop. And with this, how the world goals will develop, especially now, because we need to have a sense of union in order to fight our common enemy. And our common enemy is the big empire, and it's called climate. So you see, I have a very specific, narrow orientation, which is the lost generation.
Yeah.
So, and does this help you to
Yeah, it's and I love your cause as well, and your passion there, and you know, obviously the kind of the topic that we talked about a bit, like the work that we do within the community, right, is think about it as like a collective liberation so that women can live their life in the way it's supposed to be, right? They can become the women that they aspire to be. They're not held back by limiting self-beliefs and boundaries that are self-imposed, right? So that's the overall theme for us that we're working with. And, you know, in regards to tools and techniques, obviously, we do a lot of education on the topic, right? Around what are things that, you know, Sandra alluded to this a little bit earlier, like what are some of the techniques and the practices that help to overcome those mental barriers and limiting beliefs, such as, you know, journaling, like we shared tons of insights around and studies and education so that folks really understand that this is a great way to overcome. Like I said, we put the our journal together to give that as a guideline, as a tool to people. We're just about to start to bring speakers in as well that speak around their specific techniques and strategies that they use in order to remove limiting beliefs, right? So we're making sure we're bringing in outside voices as well for folks to hear. And, you know, we do coaching sessions and workshops to really, you know, connect women and bring them together to drive the collective spirit behind it. So I would say those are probably the main, you know, techniques and strategies that we use to drive the overall cause. But then ultimately what happens within the community is just connection and women also getting to know each other, right? Women that have nothing to do with each other and that meet through our community. And ultimately for me, that's the power that sits behind a community as well. Not just us going, here's all the stuff and you do this to change, but it's for people to connect with one another, right? So we have a system that we call Mindshift Sisters. So whenever we coach somebody, we pair them up with another sister and they are working together and support each other. And there's women that have worked together for weeks already that now talk every other day on the phone, and like one's in Paris and the other one is in California, like random connections. But I think for us, that's the main vehicle for us to drive the collectiveness of women coming together, you know, and
So
being
beautiful.
in a space together.
It's not random.
Well, it's not random, but folks
perfectly aligned.
You know, yeah, they
gloriously
kind of
aligned, indeed.
Yeah,
celestially, spirit-filled, holy alignment. Okay, we've only got 4 minutes now. Thank you, Radmila, for your question in your commenting, and it's lovely to meet you. And thank you, Irina. We've got 3 minutes left to give housekeeping and to thank Irina for her incredible contribution to the Edgewalker International community today. Some housekeeping. Our next cafe is June 27th with Judy Nealis facilitating. Judy, do you have a guest here? I didn't see that on the...
Yeah, I have a topic for us to explore. So I'll be facilitating a conversation I call On the Edge of Aging, which will look at Look at our
Yes.
relationship to older, at whatever age we are, and
Aging,
to
death,
look at
yeah.
yeah. And actually, I always say the main edge that Edgewalkers walk is that walk between life and death and whatever's next. And so it'll be, I think, a pretty engaging conversation.
Wonderful.
If anybody ever wants to know what's happening with Edgewalker cafes, go to www.edgewalkers.org. And I do want to say that when I sent out the notice about today's conversation, I had promised it would be edgy, knowing Sandra and then knowing a little bit about Irina's talk. And it has been incredibly edgy and moving the edge forward. And so I want to express my gratitude.
Oh, thank you, Judy. Beautiful. Thank you. Well, again, we can find Irina. She is on all of the socials. You can join the sisterly community. Speak to us about where people can find you, Irina.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously on LinkedIn, just under Irina Soriano. You can find me on Instagram too. I can also, let me do this. If you're interested in checking out the community, I just popped a link in there, so you can go check it out there.
Thank you.
The community is free, right? So you can just come in, answer a couple of questions.
I'm a member. Yay.
And you're a member, and we welcome you there. So yeah, I look forward to connect with everybody.
And irinasoriano.com. You can find her books there, her incredible ongoing blog. Confidence Edge is also on LinkedIn. She's just got great TED Talks, the second one coming, lots of resources. Thank you on behalf of everyone at Edgewalkers International. Thank you, Irina, for being a part of this. And
thank you.
And everyone who's listening in, thank you so much. You can check out Irina on the Edge of Everyday podcast. It's dropping on your podcast platform of choice, as well as maximizeyou.life. So thanks again, and everyone have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.